All right, in this screencast, we're going to talk about how to handle the analysis of events other than the own price change of a good and the quantity demanded. So what happens if something besides the price of the good in question changes? How do we deal with that? Let's start thinking about that. Unfortunately, I have this picture of a dollar going up. I was thinking of an income increase in terms of dollars, but my example that I'm running with is in rupees. So imagine these are pictures of rupees, whatever they look like. Here we go. Let's get to a graph. I know you're dissatisfied without graphs now, so here we go. All right, remember our discussion of demand. It's downward sloping. We're again talking about the Pakistani cucumber market in 2014. And this demand curve lets us predict what's going to happen if buyers initially face price P naught and price falls to P1 using my extraordinarily creative notation, and the quantity demanded rises to Q1. So notice my terminology here. It's if price changes and in response consumers' quantity demanded changes, in this case price fell and quantity demanded went up, I call that a change in quantity demanded, and that's just a movement along any given demand curve. We call that a change in quantity demanded. It's going to be real important to distinguish movements along a demand curve from movements of the whole demand curve. So let's get started with that discussion. All right, the best way that I've come up with over the years to think about this, I'm going to keep track of it in mathematical notation, and I apologize if that throws you. It's just I need 17 screencasts worth of text to record it any other way. So I like to think of the quantity demanded as some function of price. That's what this notation means. Quantity demanded equals some function, and it could be any function. I'm not specifying linearity or anything else. It's just some function of price. And that's okay, price, and we've got a function of price here. Price goes up, quantity demanded goes down. Price goes down, quantity demanded goes up. I happen to have it as a straight line, but I haven't specified in any great detail the functional form. That's all this means. And I guess I can even give you another little bit of notation. I'm going to say that's an inverse relationship, meaning when price goes up, quantity demanded goes down. We signify that with a little minus sign with a circle around it above the variable in question. All right. What we've been doing in talking about the demand curve is holding constant everything else that might affect demand. Sometimes you hear that as ceteris paribus. That's Latin for all else held constant, all else equal. Sometimes I just say all else equal. But the way in mathematical speak, the way you indicate holding everything else constant is this extra long vertical line that extends above the baseline and above the top line of the letters. So the demand function is a function of price, an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded, holding constant a bunch of things. Well, what do you mean by a bunch of things, right? Well, anything else that might affect demand. The example I have in mind is income. If buyers, anything that could affect the buyer's behavior. So obviously if a buyer has more money and cucumbers are a normal good, then buyers in general have more money, there's going to be more demand for cucumbers. So if it's a normal good, and typically foodstuffs are normal, although barely, they have very low income elasticities of demand. I have to qualify that positive. If it's a normal good, that's a positive relationship. Meaning if income goes up for the market, then people are going to buy more or want to buy more cucumbers. If income goes down, they want to buy less. Either one of those things is connoted by this positive relationship. Income and quantity demanded move in the same direction. Well, what else might affect demand? How much consumers want to buy at any given price? Well, clearly, if there's more buyers in the game, there's going to be more demand for food, right? And more demand for a lot of things. So population in the market in question here, Pakistan, we'll assume they don't export cucumbers. So population goes up, there's going to be more people wanting cucumbers, demand's going to go up. That's real important. What else? The list could be very, very long. I'm just going to talk about a few other typical things and leave it at that. Well, the price of a substitute might affect how much cucumbers. Let's say Pakistanis like in their salads, they either like cucumbers or sometimes they use radishes in salads, but they don't like them both together. I'm just making this stuff up. But if there's a substitute for a cucumber and that price of the substitute goes up, well, the quantity demanded of cucumbers is going to go up, right? If I'm either going to make it with a salad with radishes or with cucumbers, and suddenly the prices of radishes goes up, well, then I'm going to be much more likely to want cucumbers in my salad just because it's less expensive relative to radishes. So there's a positive relationship between the price of substitutes and the quantity demanded. Let's keep going here. Price of a complement. Let's say Pakistanis are like U.S., where you eat salads that have cucumbers and lettuce in them. Oh, I started writing while I was talking instead of thinking. There's generally there's always a negative relationship between the price of a complement and the quantity demanded of the good in question. Think this through. If I only eat cucumbers with lettuce in a salad, and lettuce is suddenly really expensive, well, I can't afford so much lettuce, so I'm not going to have as many salads. I'm not going to have as many cucumbers. So that's a negative relationship. And rather than memorizing this, I would urge you to just think things through example by example. You guys are humans. Economics is the study of human behavior. Often, if you just learn the logic of the endeavor, you can just think about your own behavior. I happen to love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I eat peanut butter and jelly almost always together. So if I can just think through an example, okay, the price of jelly goes up, I'm not going to use as much jelly, well, that means I'm not using as much peanut butter either. Just think through an example to make sure you got this straight. Don't try to memorize every little thing. All right, what else? Just, this is what we do. What else could affect consumer demand? Well, taste, that's pretty broad concept. How much do people like cucumbers? These things are cultural to some degree, and they change over time. So let's think if we had a taste measure that was the more people like cucumbers, the higher this taste measure is. If we had a measure like that, the relationship would be positive. This taste measure would go up, quantity demanded would go. Oftentimes lumped with taste is this info set. What do we know about the health effects of cucumbers? Let's say we had an index of knowledge that if it goes up, it means we know more about the positive things about cucumbers. If it goes down, we know more negative things about cucumbers. So then if I've got a measure like that, then I can write that plus. If Pakistanis came to believe that eating cucumbers cures cancer or increases virility or does something really good, well, they're going to want more cucumbers. And likewise, if they find out, cucumbers are made with some awful pesticide that makes you sick, well, then that would be their information set, and they'd want fewer. The list, you could just be creative and think of other things. I guess the one other real important family of drivers of changes in demand would be your expectations. Sorry. So let's say I could store cucumbers for a week, and if I expected the price of cucumbers next week to go up really by a lot, well, I'm going to buy more cucumbers today because I can store them. Now, the cucumbers aren't a real durable, but if we're talking things that can be stored a long time, expectations can really move markets. So a lot of buyers of gasoline have big tanks. Agricultural users, commercial users have big tanks on their property. And so if they think price of gas is going to go up, they're going to run and fill up their 1,000-gallon tank today rather than wait for it to go up. Well, in doing that, they drive today's price up. So if I expect the price of cucumbers to go up, chances are I'm going to stock up today instead of paying the higher price tomorrow. And lo and behold, that's going to affect my quantity demanded today. And then I'm just going to go ... Anything else that might affect buyers' behavior would affect the demand curve. And so what do we do if one of these things change? And let's just think it through. I'll change color pens. What if we think, well, what if the Pakistani income goes up? They discover oil and suddenly they distribute that oil money all throughout Pakistan, and Pakistanis want to buy more cucumbers at any given price. Well, we'll notice that if at price P0, at price P1, at any given price, Pakistani buyers want to buy more. Well, if that's true, then we're going to have a new demand curve that's to the right. Think right, left, not up, down. That's going to be really important, especially when we get over to the supply function. So an increase in demand is going to be a rightward shift. If any one of these things changes, the whole demand function is going to change. If it's something that's going to increase demand at any given price, the whole curve is going to shift right. Let's think about a fall in the price of radishes. If we've got an event that's going to cause fewer cucumbers to be demanded at any given price, well, then the curve's going to be opposite. So this was a income rise. Let's do a different color. Let's make it orange just for something different. Let's say that radishes, that's supposed to be a D, price falls. Well, at any given price, there's going to be less quantity demanded now. And when we look at the new demand relationship, we're going to have D double prime. And so notice what I do. I indicate the event. I put an arrow where indicating the direction that the function shifts, and then I draw the new demand function and I label it something that's different from the other functions that I have depicted. All right, well, that was also more than 5 minutes, but now we really, really understand these demand shifters.
Made with Doodlecast Pro.